Hey guys, we're in the middle of our bath renovation here. We've decided to go with a porcelain tile that actually looks like hardwood. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's got an embossing on the front that the surface that actually looks like hardwood. Now this is made by a company called Marazzi. They make 3 different widths to wood. We're going to use the 2 smaller widths for our bathroom because it's pretty small. We're going to run it on a lengthwise pattern so that it makes the space look a little bit bigger and has a little more of a dramatic feel. So let's get started. So when we pulled out our old tile, guys, we actually pulled up some of the underlayment that's there. So we're going to go through and we've actually made some repairs to this with a latex material that will fill in those gaps. We want to make sure, because we've got some long skinny tiles, that we've got plenty of good solid surface underneath there to support it. So let's take a look.
We're using a flooring repair patch material that you can find at any home improvement store. It's basically mixed from a powder with water to create the consistency for the material to be installed. After we get it nice and smooth and level, we wait a day for it to dry before we install the tile. So because our floor area is relatively small, we chose to use the 2 small tile widths of 3 13/16 and 5 13/16. As you can see here, the pieces are just under 2 feet long, so they're relatively easy to work with. And we're using a 1/16 inch grout spacing to replicate the spaces between typical hardwood planks. So we start laying our tile in the most conspicuous area, alternating the tile widths as we work our way over toward the vanity wall. We start here so the partial tiles that we cut lengthwise will be hidden underneath the vanity. As with all good tile installations, we're checking with our level periodically to make sure everything's still straight and level, and we're also using our tile spacers on every piece that we set to make sure the grout joints are consistent. We also stagger the seams on this particular tile to make it look more like hardwood. We're using a damp sponge to wipe off the thin-set mortar from the face of the tiles because it gets down into that embossed hardwood grainy look to it, and it's going to be very difficult to get off once it dries. Our experience with this tile was there was very little waste. The cuts were smooth and there wasn't a whole lot of chipping on the surface as we cut it. Just go slow when you're cutting through it, and you shouldn't have a whole lot of waste material. Here's a look at the floor after setting all the tiles before we actually installed the grout. We chose a dark grout to mimic the look of hardwood, where the spaces between hardwood planks are usually black or dark. So before we started grouting, we wiped down the floor very well with a damp sponge. We wanted to make sure we got any of the thin-set mortar residue off the face of the tiles before we started grouting. Here's a look at what it looked like after installing the black grout and before we actually wiped it down with a damp sponge. And here's the finished product. This porcelain tile sells for less than $5 per square foot and is relatively easy to install. We love the look of the hardwood without the possibility of moisture damage for a bathroom like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the look of this tile, and let us know what you think, so give us a shout.